Namaste, brothers and sisters. What's the date today? Today is Sunday. I'm not supposed to be working, but if you love what you do, it's not really work. We're going to breathe. Breathe, relax, respond. Breathe. Relax and respond. So I have my meditation every day, and I'm doing a video series where I'm trying to find the clarity. I'm looking at my dog Snuggles. I'm trying to find the clarity of to learn how to talk about, create, attract, align with, materialize, and manifest something. So your daily learning points for being a creator, shaman to the universe, becoming an actualized person. I've had a public access TV show where we talk about all things spiritual. It was very broad. I said, anything from alchemy to Zen, we will talk about if it's metaphysical, mystical, magical, and spiritual. And we've covered a wide range of topics. It's a live call-in show. And what the show did for me was basically make me hit a mark and be available to speak to people about their lives and spirituality and metaphysics and mystical, magical, mysticism. And what's the practical application? The practical application is it made me hit my mark, show up, go through a process, have an idea, explore the idea, and then create a TV show. So to produce, host, write the TV show, and learn production. And I did that, and I'm doing that. It's over 10 years now. So if you want to watch any of those past episodes and find out more about what I do when I'm not making these YouTube videos, you just type in Google. At the Google search engine, I find I have the most hits. Kirk Spiritual, Kirk Shamanic, or Kirk Spiritual Television. I know there's at least like 50 episodes of Kirk Spiritual TV over at Daily Motion. And there's like 10-minute clips all over YouTube, and some clips over at Vimeo, hosting website as well. So I have been studying and reading self-help books, but not just specifically self-help books. I read Think and Grow Rich and The Richest Man in Babylon when I was 15 years old. I'm 55 now. So, you could say I'm, I don't know if I'm master of the universe, but, I'm a seasoned apprentice. I don't know, a master becoming, a Buddha becoming. I'm stepping into becoming an actualized person in what I do, what I was born to do. And, when I grew up in the 70s, life coach wasn't like on the topic board of things that were handed to a, 15-year-old kid. Like, oh, you can be a life coach, Kirk. You're creative, you're imaginative, you have passion, you have power, you have enthusiasm, you're a perfect life coach. You read self-help books, you're metaphysical, you're kind of magical, and you can see through all the bullshit and clarify things down into a 2-minute version of shit. So, that took a while because my choices, there was no internet, so things weren't apparent. What's the segue? The segue is, now we can go online and our choices for our life are basically infinite. We can see things, we can download images, pictures, listen to podcasts, So, I'm hopeful and I'm happy to live in a world that invented and birthed the internet, so kids can have these choices presented to them, and irregardless of class, social class, financial stature, even irregardless of education or gender or sexuality. I happen to be gay, so things were presented to me that, like, you can either be out of the closet and live in a gay ghetto and not really make a lot of money, or you can be in like this kind of gay identified uh, type of business. Like, you could be a caterer. The caterers were like always gay when I was growing up, and even the people that like hired a caterer were like, oh, we'll get a gay caterer because they're always the best, or get a gay florist, or get a gay hairstylist because they're always good. We don't want them to get married or have any rights, but definitely like find the gay caterer. So it was a confusing thing. And so there was a lot of work to be done. So hopefully I'm speaking to you and, to let go of all those limitations. The internet allows us to, it allows our choices to expand. So, I grew up with all these limitations about what I was supposed to be as, gender identified male, and specifically about, I knew I was gay. So I had like those self-worth issues of like being able to have something. If I wanted to go into business, I thought, you're going to have to be in the closet and lie because all the business is done around like cocktail parties, and you go and have a steak and a martini and you bring your wife, and you got to have all this stuff in order to like have money and be successful. So you had to make an integrity choice. But now, with the internet, it's off the chain. I mean, people don't care about your sexuality. That whole mess is gone. And, the human psyche, collective consciousness, cultured consciousness of the country, all those limitations are falling away. So the point being, like, you could have a 12-year-old that comes in and incarnates with the idea that they're going to be a surgeon. I want to be a heart surgeon. And, this 12-year-old girl can come in with that idea rather than have it like knocked out of her or beaten out of her. This 12-year-old girl might be the person to find the perfect cure to cancer, or for this disease, or create something that will benefit millions of people. Whereas when I was born, and the first wave of like indigo children in the 70s, we were like severely limited to the limitations of the adults around us. So if the adults around us were like, no, you're going to be a lawyer, Kirk, you're a male, you're smart, you know how to talk, you're going to be a lawyer, and that's like your choice. And, they didn't know I was gay, but so anyways, uh, a lot of the work to materialize your life, and step into your divine self, your Buddha self, your angel self, your Christ self. At that time, they were like, well, if you're gay, you can't go to church. Or, you can't have a relationship with the Christ. And, the way it affected me, let's not go too long into like my sober qualification, but the way it affected me was around 12 years old. I was like, these people are so, I had a very adult, sane, very sober, clear, advanced, spiritually advanced voice within me. And I was like, these people are so limited, and they're limiting me. All of my teachers and parents and school and the education system was limiting me so much that I just was like, this isn't a workable situation. I don't know what to do. So most of your time, your love, your life force, and your energy and your spirit was trying to protect yourself from these projections of limitation. And now, thank God, I am so happy and have so much hope to live in a world where if the parents or the teachers or the education system is projecting all of this bullshit and insanity onto these kids, like, you can't be a doctor. Who are you to think you could be a doctor, or be the president, or, run a big company or have any money? Who are you to think that? The kid can just go online and, like, when nobody's watching, find stuff and attract the stuff online that they want to do or read about it, And during my time, you had to go into a library and you had to ask, where do you find the book about being gay? I'm 12 years old and I'm gay and I'd like to read about being gay and what it's like and meet other gay people. No, that didn't exist. You had to go to the librarian and, like, check the book out. So there was this, like, check. So everything was, like, secret and limited. You couldn't tell anybody, I want to be this or I want to be. They would just laugh and go, like, there's no way you're ever going to be that. So now you can find support groups to where, I want to be a healer. I'm a shaman. I'm like, the entire universe is opened up. So first of all, what you want to do is, depending on how old you are, if you're 12 years old, I applaud you. Here's the baton. We're not giving you any limitations. Don't give your kids any limitations. Find out what they came in. When I do psychic and spiritual counseling, I find that, the kid, it doesn't matter how big or small their body is. Everybody comes in with some kind of, like, genius, and it's the parents' responsibility to support the kid until the kid can get old enough. So the body age and size doesn't matter. I talked about this one kid, this guy that I know, when he was a baby, they had a toy piano, and I don't know how he got a hold of the toy piano, but he, like, crawled to this piano, and it was just a toy. You bang on it, made noise. And now the guy's like a concert pianist all over the world and a singer. And, by the time he was like 25, he was making $1 million a year from just doing concerts. And he owned a townhouse on the Upper West Side. So, he didn't have those limitations. Like, for whatever reason, his parents. But interestingly enough, even, like, with this kind of hardcore limited, like, I don't know what my choices are. The choice is to disappear. That was my choice, because I was just like, you're trapped here, man. You're trapped, and there's all these people, and they're just giving you nothing but limitations. They're not supporting you. I was having the experience of absolutely no support. So I picked up drugs and alcohol like a lot of people, and, you're living in a constant state of frustration. And there's no way to alleviate the frustration until you can get away from wherever, It's a very common experience with gay people. There's like a 15-year period when they're kids where I just got to wait it out and get out of here and move to, D.C., New York, San Francisco, L.A., wherever, Miami, where I can, be around other people and I don't have to be subject to all these, like, evil projections upon my mind, body, and spirit, and I can, live my life, not their limited idea about who and what I can be. So it's kind of bizarre to grow up in a world where, like, only certain people get, this or that or the other thing, and we don't live in that world anymore. That world is gone. So if you're in your 40s and your 50s or 60s, I won't hold you to any limitation. Part of your work is going to have to be to, like, clear the board on those limitations that you were handed and say, there's always time. It's never too late. Dreams come true. And, you can always materialize what you're looking for, If there's people around you that you feel are going to, like, enforce these limitations upon you about what you can be and what you can do, get rid of them. Because is it really worth, like, 20 years, 30 years of your life to live in the shadow of somebody's limitation about you. Especially like if you have addict parents. I can't really count or give voice to the number of clients that I have whose parents, for whatever reason, were mentally and emotionally and spiritually sick, and they put their kids in this competition thing, and we're like, the deck is stacked against the kid. It's all this like weird competition of like, I'm always going to beat you and I'm always going to win, and you're in a competitive thing with the parents. So the parents are not going to support you. The parents are not going to give you validation, because to the parent, unrecovered addict, alcoholic parent, or codependent parent, everything's a competition. You know what I'm saying? So like, they have a sick ego, and for whatever reason, they're not going to validate, you. They're not going to support you, because the sick addict, what's the word I'm looking for? Narcissistic, whatever you want to call it, unrecovered, evolved, no spiritual connection person is always, they're afraid of two things. Somebody's going to get something, and it's going to take something away from me. So, if my kid gets this, then that means, that I don't get something, or it's going to reflect badly on me, or something like this, or so, somehow the kid's going to leave. If I really create a healthy child that is successful, what does the kid need me for? And the kid's going to leave. Well, guess what? The kid's going to leave anyway. So, if you've got all that going on. So, number one, if you're not in recovery or you're not spiritually connected, you're here to support your kids, not be in competition with them, and not to project your limitations onto the child, but to support them while they find the life of their dreams. And, when you do that, then the kid comes back to you and goes, hey, look at all this money I made. Look at all this success I made. Thank you. And, buys you a house. Or so if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, like a lot of my clients, you're going to have to like clear the table on a lot of those limitations. I'm not going to use the A word. Yes, abuse, or, you're going to have to clear it out. So what we do in recovery, I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol, and over 30 years. And I went to codependency rehab to deal with all the family stuff and sort that out. It was very confusing. And at this point, I couldn't even give a shit about like all of that. You know what? I wake up every day and I ask for God's grace from that whole mess. So if you got handed a mess, guess what? Your parents got handed a mess, and their parents got handed a mess, and so on. Two addicts raised by two addicts, raised by two more addicts equals about, exponential, 25 generations of addicted behavior getting handed down on both sides. It doesn't end well unless but now, like I said, with the advent of the internet, we get a chance to get out of all that and break the cycle. So I've written extensively on that. What's the point? Well, the point is that there is some work sometimes on an entitlement issue. So if you got this idea of low self-esteem, say, we didn't have a lot of money. For whatever reason, my parents lived in financial scarcity. You're going to have to do some, back foundational work, subconscious work, to get rid of that and get yourself to an entitlement. Let me go back to one thing. Even without the internet, I was still doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I was putting on shows for the kids. I had a magic kit. Every kid, this is an interesting thing. Every kid either got a chemistry set or a magic kit. So, praise the good, praise the good. I had this magic set, and I was like, I'm putting on a magic show, which is kind of like, now fast forward, when I was in high school, I took a journalism class, And I grew up in a wealthy, middle class suburb where they actually had a class where you produced a news show. This was in high school. We had cameras, we had a news desk, we wrote stories, and then you throughout the semester took a class for broadcast journalism. This was in high school, full studio. Uh, so I took that, and so I was doing these natural things anyways, even though I didn't have the internet, but I did go to the bookstore, and somehow I found Think and Grow Rich. Somehow I found The Richest Man in Babylon. Somehow I got subscribed to a newsletter that was a paper newsletter that came in the snail mail, every month. And it was like all about all of these quotes and, cutting edge mind technology. This is when I was like, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I came in with my idea. I just didn't know my idea. And the adults around me, how could they ever know that I would become a shamanic healer or, a life coach or, I don't know, motivational speaker. But I was doing it all along. I was, doing these things, and these are the clues. So your job as a parent is to kind of see the clues. Where's the kid going? Because you want your kid to, access divine reality. And, we might have another little Mozart on our hands, or we might have another Einstein on our hands, or we might, have some scientists to solve this problem for humanity. So whatever the kid naturally goes to, once again, I remember one of my fraternity buddies, he grew up and he would draw pictures of buildings and houses, and he ended up becoming this genius architect. And he would say, tell me about what kind of house he was 12 years old, and he would be like, I'm going to draw you a building. I'm going to draw you your house. So kids know. So I can't really stress that enough, and part of my work as a life coach is if somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to streamline, I want to clarify, simplify my life. I want to get to my divine self. And the idea came in, what did you do as a child? What did you do? And sometimes we got to dig it out, and it takes months and months to get that clarity, get them to own it, because a lot of times it has all these things attached to it. I got punished, for doing this, or I got in trouble for doing this, or I had a teacher that just didn't like me. Believe it or not, there are teachers that just, at least when I was in high school and grade school, there's just teachers, they just pick somebody to scapegoat, and then they just act out on you. All of my math teachers acted out on me. One guy even hit me in the nose. One guy told me, you'll never figure out math the rest of your life. You're going to be shitty at math. Literally said to me, you're never going to understand math or algebra. You know what? And fractions. Fuck off. You know what? Hey, after I got out of high school, I never thought about fractions again. Nope. So 5 years and all those textbooks and all that money and trying to understand fractions. Yeah, if you're going to be like a nuclear scientist or something, yeah, a fraction of a millimeter of an inch. But I'm not building a rocket, okay? And how many kids are like, no, you have to have algebra and you have to have, you have to have fractions. You're never going to understand fractions. Okay, just to even do that to a kid is fucking evil. And so, point being, a lot of your teachers did fucked up shit like that, and you're gonna have to go back and find those things. If you have an entitlement issue about why you can't have something, or why you can't do something, or why you can't touch something, name it and claim it within you, you gotta go back, you gotta face it, trace it, face it, and then erase it and get rid of it out of your subconsciousness if it's impeding you. So, so that's part of the work I do with people. But there's another way you can do it, is you can ask for divine grace. And this book that sits next to my night table, The Super Beans, it was written in the 50s. And he talks about how you just pray and meditate and ask divine spirit to eliminate and erase all the subconscious things and in your mind, body, and spirit that are, keeping you from God, from light, from success, from liberation, and you just allow, he says God or Jesus, uh, some people, my spirit guides, my genie, the Buddha within. So what we're trying to do is on, one side, we're trying to get rid of all of the limitations and the attachments that we have. Why is this important? Before you can get to this list and, hey, here's my beach house. Yeah, this is my beach house. Okay, before we can get to that, and I made a list of, here's my manifestation list. These are all the things that I manifested in my life. Some of them within 48 hours. Some of them took 3 months, but it was exactly what I projected. Exactly. And then some of them, I didn't think it through, and it was half-baked, and it materialized, but only like halfway. In the case of Ben Stiller, and you're going to hear Ben Stiller. You're going to hear the name Ben Stiller a lot in my next couple of videos because, an instant manifestation is you're going to the shopping mall and, you don't want to walk the extra 1 minute from the, far regions of the parking lot. So, hey, I want a parking space up front. It's a very common thing. It's a car culture, so, hey, I'm going to blow in there to that parking lot and there's going to be the perfect parking space right there. Boom. There it is. You created it. That's an instant manifestation. If you have the consciousness, in a very simplistic way, I never get the parking space up front. It just never happens to me. It just never happens. And history tells me that it never happens. And, I would like it to happen, but it just doesn't happen for me. That's just not my reality. Then guess what? Your brain shuts off. You don't create the parking space. So what I try to do and trying to get to you and my clients and what I'm trying to figure out and streamline is my way to speak to my clients so we can just get in there and start eliminating the limitations. So you never ask, why do you want the parking space? Because God doesn't ask why. God just creates. The universe just creates. The nature of God and the universe is, if you look around in the natural world, if nature is any indication of God's creativity or even the human body, look around. There's millions of different variations, and that's called diversity. There's, 100,000 types of plants, trees, animals, insects, birds, human beings, billions of different types. We don't all look the same. So the nature of God is creativity and diversity. So let me just breathe a little bit. So, what we have to do is get you to, trust in the universe and God. Can I get you to believe that you can get a parking space? Are you willing to have a parking space up front? Are you willing to be willing? It's just one example. So if you don't have the belief that you're creating your life and that you're a victim of all these circumstances, or that you're not a co-creator, that life just happens to you and you're a victim and all this bad shit just happens and you don't know why, you're not fully owning, that you're in the material world and you're having these thoughts, and somewhere we have to trace it back and get rid of it. And, there's subliminal tapes, there's like all of this stuff on YouTube, where you eliminate the subconscious, limitations about money or about love, and they're experimenting with, sound and binaural beats. And you can Google all this stuff and try it for yourself. I don't know, there's no definitive thing, but the collective consciousness is trying to streamline this mind technology to where, we get rid of the limitations. And so, we create an actualized world, or an actualized adult, or an adult with very few limitations. Even Scientology in a strange way, kind of like talks about the same thing. I've never been in Scientology. I've read extensively about it, and I find it fascinating. I don't feel inclined, even though there is literally a Scientology office, and then the headquarters are. The office is on this block, 2 blocks down, 1 block away from Times Square, and the headquarters and the USA headquarters, I think, is 1 block up. So they have these sessions where you eliminate and erase something they call an engram. And in theory, they have this meter, and you talk about these really painful things, and then you let it out, and it erases it from your subconsciousness. Supposedly, their theory is, what I believe, is that if you keep doing these things, these audit sessions, eventually you get clear. You get absolutely and totally, you don't have any more limitations within you. I'm saying this in a very simplistic way. You don't have any more limitations or, abuse points, things that happened that were traumatic for you, and you become a clear person. I think it's just referred to as a clear, and they have like levels. So you eliminate everything and you move your way up, and you become a full master creator. And in theory, that's basically what, all metaphysical work is to try and get you to, you can have a high sense of entitlement, but if there's something in the past, for instance, a lot of people come to me, I want a boyfriend, I want a girlfriend, I want a wife, I want the perfect partner. Okay, now we've opened up a huge can of worms, and there's a lot of work to be done on something like that. I always attract this type of guy. I always attract these broken people, and, raise your hand if you've had a fucked up relationship with somebody. They were an addict. They're a broken person. I was codependent with them. They were codependent with me. I didn't really care about them that much, but they were in love with me. They became a stalker. Like, this stuff just goes on and on. So if the thing that you want has this really hardcore abuse attachment or pain attachment, subconsciously and even consciously, you'll never get it. You'll never attract it until you detach that painful memory, because the mind, body, and spirit is never going to consciously allow you to have something that's going to cause you pain. For instance, if you have attached pain to the money, and your history and relationship with money is a painful one, and a contentious one, and a confused one, and a conflicted one. Well, if I have a lot of money, God won't like me, or money's the root of all evil. Okay, well, if you have connected in your mind that money is evil, you're not going to consciously attract something you think is evil upon you. So guess what? You're not going to have any money because you think it's evil. And only evil people have money. So you got to go back and do all this work to get to the entitlement and get to the having, and start connecting, disassociate the bad, painful thing with it, and then connect these really great feelings to it. So part of that is work I do with people. Specifically, tell me what you want. You get to choose one thing. Do you want love? You want power? You want more choices? You want liberation? It's only it's less than 5 things. They want love, they want power. You want love, you want power. Because, hey, I want a lot of money. That's power and choice. Okay, so all the things that you can think of will flow back to the same river of basically I want love, I want power, I want health. So whatever you're asking for, streamline it down, I want love. Okay, I want, okay, let's get more specific, more specific, more specific. What do you mean by that? And then we finally will dig out, well, I don't have this relationship because, well, my mom did this, my dad did that. For me to be in a relationship means pain. My parents were addicts. I had to get mommy or alcohol every day. And so my original ideas about my siblings and my relationships were that to be in a relationship is chaos and confusion and pain. And I'm always going to be taking care of somebody. So you got to go in and get rid of all that before you can get to, and welcome to the whole planet is doing this work. So everybody is doing this work, whether they know it or not. It depends on what you want. So you got to go and get rid of the unhealthy attachment that's keeping you from what you desire. And then you have to go and now put in good feelings about this thing. So, we have to find out your history with the thing that you want. So if your idea of being in relationship with mommy or daddy or your older sister or younger brother or whatever it is fuck up or incestuous or wrong or somehow abusive, it's almost a guarantee when I work with people in recovery that there's one family member, and that is their point of, that is like they just have issues with that one. It's my sister. No, it was my dad. My dad just didn't like me. My mom hated me. My mom adored me. She was like a stalker. It was, so we have all these unhealthy attachments. So, I find when people are alone and they feel like it's not by their choice, I don't want to be alone. Okay, what is it to be in a relationship to you? Well, that means, mommy's a big mess. So yeah, I'm going to attract a big mess. And I'm so tired of cleaning up people's messes. So no, I'm not going to be in a relationship. And, we have evidence of this in our 20s and 30s. What kind of person did you attract? Yale or jail, Park Avenue or Park Bench. It's always the same broken person. Same relationship with 30 different people. Okay, you know what? I need to go back and get rid of and do some inner work. So that was like a long precursor. I was all ready to talk about all this other stuff, but it's a first things first issue. So, we have to go in and eliminate and rewrite your foundation of reality. If you're not creating and you're stuck, and one of my specialties is people that are stuck almost, like I'm finding this mind tech that I specialize in people that are stuck. So if you're not having the career success or the amounts of money come in or, your perfect partner, there's like you're stuck. And there's a point that you're not being able to release this painful memory and, then attach the positive things to it that you want. Okay, being in partnership to you means pain. If trace it all the way back. Being in partnership to you means, you're going to have to listen to somebody's insanity. Or, they're going to suck the life out of you. Or, you're going to have to fix them. I always attract these broken, desperate people. It doesn't matter what your economic, there's billionaires that walk around and they're broken people. Trust me. I was a butler for 8 years. I know exactly what I'm talking about. They might live in a $5 million townhouse. They're still emotionally crippled and broken people. And they still have insane relationships. So just because somebody has money doesn't mean, financial success doesn't mean that life success or romantic success or emotional intelligence, falls in line with all of that. It means they understand and they have a financial IQ and a financial intelligence and they're really good with the money. Doesn't necessarily mean the rest of their life is perfect. It doesn't mean that at all. So, we have to go back and once again, it's a first things first issue. So I guess the video here is, you got to lay a new foundation. And as I said at the beginning of this video, what you can do is you wake up, you pray and you meditate, you get spiritually connected, and you ask your spirit guides or Jesus or Buddha or Mother Goddess, or your angel helpers or your avatars, whatever you pray and meditate to, your genie. You don't have to, have my idea about God. But if God can handle that and create the miracle of healing that you need in that area, or you can ask for divine grace. And that is the quick way. That is the quick, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. You wake up, you pray and meditate, you get your spiritual discipline, you go into the alpha state. Dear God, may I have another grace, another day of grace from my insanity. The insanity of the past, the insanity of my relationships. And then, if you really trust and know, and I've had moments of divine grace, being in recovery, I've learned in my mind and body and spirit how to allow the grace to come in. Humility is the key. We pray, we ask, dear God, please give me another day of sobriety, sanity, solvency, serenity, and sobriety. That's a great place to start, and that covers love, health, wealth, and money. I allow the joy to come in. Please allow the light to come into my mind, body, and soul. Please allow my love to come out. I ask for divine grace for just 24 hours. That's the whole day at a time. So a day at a time, a power greater than yourself can wipe the board and allow you the VIP, fun pass to move forward. Dear God, please let me have divine grace from this issue. The amount of time it's going to take me to get rid of all the corrupted files that I have about money is, going to be, I could take the rest of my life to try and clear it, or I can just pray to you and ask, I need divine grace from this. So I guess the learning point today, the sum total, is about grace. And we're going to get things to, I'm going to keep streamlining. So first things first, ask for grace, spiritual discipline. You wake up and, you need to have your mind clear, your mind, body, and spirit. So you can say affirmations, my subconscious is clearing out these old scripts, these old tapes, these old limitations about who I am, what I can get, what I can have. Because ultimately, I can tell you your destiny. Like, Kirk, you're my shaman. Tell me, what's my destiny? Your destiny is to live in the light of God and be a full creator. And, the thing is, I don't know why these glasses keep getting fogged up. The thing is that, you can turn your entire will and life over to God and Goddess and the universe. You can say, like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing about anything. And when you first get sober, they tell you to do it. I let go and let God. I turn my will and my life over to the care of a loving God. Because, what you got is so corrupted in the past. If your life's working for you and you're just materializing and you're actualizing, perfectly all the time, and you're getting, all the things that you desire out of life, and you have a sense of joy and promise and health, the 4 pillars, love, health, wealth, happiness, prosperity, connection, then you're doing good. But, for the other 99% of the planet that, needs to clear all this stuff out and break these addictive cycles and, live in the light of God and try to get spiritual connection and discipline on a daily basis, then, you're going to have spiritual discipline and a spiritual practice. And so it is a first things first issue. And, when you first get sober, they just tell you, like, you made a mess. I got sober at 24. And I'm in my 30. I thought it was 33, but it's 32 maybe. And I got sober in 84 right after college. So they said, Kirk, just wipe the board. Yep, you made a mess of everything. Can you imagine at 24, you even thinking that? Like, you haven't even started your life, but that's where my insanity led me. I ran out of people, I ran out of money, I ran out of time, I ran out of ideas. I'd fucking fucked up everything that I touched. And so they were like, Kirk, just let God create your life right now, a day at a time. So basically, the first 20 years of sobriety was just basically like accepting grace. I accept another day of grace. Thank you for my sanity. Thank you for my sobriety. So, now I'm here to tell you, like, the first things first issue is get a spiritual discipline, get a spiritual connection, and just accept grace. from your own fucked up insanity, which means you're not creating your life as a creator. You're allowing divine intelligence to do it. Bring me the people, places, and things you want me to do, be, have, own, speak to, and experience today, God. I let go, and I let go absolutely. And then the light of grace can get in there to create for you, because basically you're just being neutral. When you don't know what to do, pull your energy back off the situation and just allow it to be, and be neutral. I neither endorse nor oppose. I'm just allowing the situation to play itself out. So you're not feeding the addiction, you're not feeding the alcoholism, and a power greater than yourself has given you divine grace for another day. So now you have divine grace. So this insanity machine that you were creating for, disconnection, debt, disease, and dysfunction, and despair and depression, that it just stops. Okay? So those timelines all get suspended and neutralized for one day. And during that one day, then you get to come over here and create, sanity and sobriety and solvency and serenity. So you get to build a new foundation. So, I don't know what the demand side, supply side. So on one side, you're clearing the board, you're asking for grace, you're clearing out these limitations in your mind, body, spirit, and subconsciousness, and energy flow and mental, emotional flow. And then on the other side, you're getting the grace, and then you're, building the positive life, the healthy life, the sober life, and you're finding that out. So the more you defer to divine intelligence and spiritual intelligence, I allow spiritual intelligence to create the day. That's a valid affirmation, and you can just say, hey, I let go and let God. I allow God to create the best day I can have right now, or the best moment. So, you get to then breathe, and at some point, then you let go and you trust God and the universe that grace comes. So you're not fighting the drug or the alcohol, or you're not in the codependent relationship that's keeping all that insane merry-go-round and insanity alive. What you're doing is you're over here putting time and love and energy and health into the healthy things that you want, instead of despair and debt and disease and dysfunction, and it's not working. It always ends up in the same place. You're a victim and you never get what you want. All your scorecards read 0, and you're just how did this happen? You got to come over here and you got to start building the sanity, solvency, serenity, sobriety, reclaim your mind, body, and spirit, and your soul and your heart. And you get rebirthed and reborn. And, I allow a miracle of healing to happen wherever I need it to happen, in peace, joy, and safety. So I guess that's enough for today. I guess tomorrow, so we'll just keep streamlining. So, I don't know, should I call it Divine Grace or a First Things First issue? Kirk's Daily Learning Points. Within the next week, we're going to get to, now that you've asked for grace and you've tabled all the insanity in your subconsciousness, and we all have to do this work. I've been doing it for 40 years. I was simultaneously living under the hellishness of all these limitations, and I knew it was going into my body. That's why I started drinking and taking drugs when I was 12. How many kids are in this frustrating, impossible situation, and they know they can't get out of it physically or financially? They're not old enough to be on their own, and that they're sucking up all the insanity of the alcoholic family or whatever the insanity is. Every family is insane, trust me. There's no such thing as no insane family in America. It's just levels of shit. So, and it depends on what area the insanity gets focused on. Even people in recovery, once the primary chemical is taken away, the alcohol or the cocaine or the crack, whatever actual chemical outside of yourself you were attaching your love, light, and divinity, insanity to, this thing this is coffee, but, this thing is going to give me the comfort and love I need. It's going to take away the pain. And guess what? At a certain point, instead of this being your love and your comfort and your miracle and your salvation and, the pain reliever, it's going to become the pain giver. But this is coffee, so... But, so whatever, you got to get rid of the primary chemical. The minute that you kind of start getting rid of the primary chemical and you get into like, a year, 5 years of recovery, sanity, and sobriety and clean time, it's a guarantee and a promise, that you're going to attach the insanity to another area. And there's going to be a secondary core issue. And the alcohol is not the issue. The cocaine is not the issue. The addiction is not the issue. There's always an issue behind that issue. So as a healer and a metaphysical healer and a coach and a spiritual sage, you got to look at the issue behind the issue. So the issue behind the issue is, I'm having anonymous sex. Out of the bar, into the refrigerator. I went right into the food. I racked up debt. I started fucking around with the credit cards, and now I'm $100,000 in debt, and it's a big mess. So, food, clothes, sex, money, career, relationship. Some people are great on the career path. Hey, I'm sober now, and I just got a raise, and I'm making $1 million a year. They're doing something in some other area. They're hiring prostitutes. I just watched this movie with Patrick Wilson last night called Zipper. And he's like this major district attorney running for Senate, and he becomes addicted to prostitutes and call girls at $2,500 an hour. So, they're always doing something else. So you have the primary chemical, but that's not the primary issue. You got to go in and, my legs. I had my clipboard ready, but... I guess it became more extemporaneous today. So you have the secondary issue. So, you got to find out what the secondary issue is. If it's your insanity around the money. But basically the insanity is in you. You're just looking to attach it to something, to a person. Okay, my boss is I have a very long history of insane bosses. Hey, guess what? Is it mommy or daddy? Or your older sister or older brother? I have the insanity about money. I can't get enough money. I'm a hoarder. I cannot get enough money, and I have $10 million cash in the bank. It happens, and I just never feel happy. I never feel like I have enough. I can't tell you how many qualification in my sobriety support groups I've heard where people were at the top of their game in their career. I had the top floor of the office. I was making $5 million a year. I owned my own company. I was at the top, and I got there, and I never felt so alone and empty. I'm not saying that's the case in every situation, but, what you think you want is not necessarily always what you need or want. So, Shakti, namaste. I hope I've said something. I hope I've given you loving, healing service and, provided some insight. So you can clear your foundation and, ask for the divine grace on a daily basis so you can, start to create the life that belongs to you, not the life that you were handed, big mess. And, get clear and streamlined about, what you want, what you need, the kind of life that God wants you to live. So, on a daily basis, God got me there anyways. I didn't know where I was going. Even if you don't know where you're going, you can put out God guide me. I'm asking for divine guidance. That should be your prayer, most of the time. A conscious contact with a higher power where you're just like, I need, when in doubt, don't. When in doubt, don't. It's going to take you a while to learn that one. Trust me, in sobriety and recovery. So, you pause in the stillness and say, thy will, not mine, be done, which is basically like a qualifier to say, instead of the train wreck that I'm about to make of my life because of this 2-minute decision that's going to cost me 10 years of my life to clean up, please let me turn it over to you, God. So, you're going to have to make the wrong choice an uncountable number of times sometimes before you make the right choice. And that all goes back to that foundation of reality. Uh, if you had people around you your entire life when you were growing up, but I think some of it's past life stuff too. I don't think it's like all Freudian to where the whole thing is you got to dig out your subconscious. I think you got past life stuff too. And there's actually therapists 1 hour. There's actually therapists that deal with just getting rid of past life uh, stuckness. This woman, Lily Jensen, she goes in and she talks about, I only deal with past life and releasing a past life that's keeping you from, succeeding in this life. So, I do some of that work as a shamanic healer. We can release a past life. Anyways, I've said enough. I wish you infinite amounts of unconditional love in every reality. You can say that too. Forgive the past and release it in peace, joy, and safety. Easier said than done. Simple, but not easy. So, the other first things first thing you want to do is you want to forgive. You want to forgive the people in your past, and I mean across the board, global, exponential, I forgive. That might take you 25 years, but at least don't fuel and put fire into these resentments, because guess what? It's just scorching your insides. It doesn't have anything they don't have any idea one way or the other. So you don't want to carry that energy around. It's just creating more energy blocks and actually, creating the situation and the trauma and infecting the trauma and drama over and over again. The more drama a person has, like in the workplace, you better believe there's a lot of trauma in their past that they're trying to get rid of. And they're trying to work it out on you. So don't ever let anybody at the office work their shit out on you. But yeah, that is the workplace, basically. It's a psych ward of, children of adult alcoholics, nightmare of hell of everybody in their trauma. That's basically what a workplace is. And I've seen it. So you want to forgive the past. You want to just start working on, I release my past resentments in peace, joy, and safety. I give all these resentments, not for me to judge these people that abuse me for being gay. You know what? I don't want to hold the shame and pain. It doesn't belong to me. I release it with, peace, joy, and safety. I'll release it with neither love nor hate. I just let go of all this abuse energy. You'll figure it out. But so I think you got some good ideas today. Tomorrow we'll start to get to a more proactive, like climbing the steps of becoming a full creator. And you can always speak to me in person at 212-245-7273 during the hours on a Monday, Eastern, 11:30 p.m., or you can watch my TV show and, speak to me on the sidebar of social media plug-in on my TV show at mnn.org, Channel 3. Once again, every Monday, 11:30 p.m., Channel 1997, New York City, or online around the world globally, and you can ask questions on a sidebar, or you can just call me directly, 212-245-7273, and you can send me an email at kirktv@gmail.com. You can go to my website if you'd like me to work with me personally as your life coach, healer, shamanic healer, one time or long time. Tarot reader, I've been studying the esoteric system of the Tarot as well for the last 25 years, as it's a good Tarot system is a good esoteric occult system that gives us validation. Everybody's basically life story has the same marker points. They all do. And the Tarot gives us these like archetypes of people we meet along the way in the journey of our life, in the story of our life. So a good Tarot reader is going to help you clarify your choices, find out where you are, and, give you also spiritual advisement, a spiritual advisor, psychic advisor on, hey, if you make this choice, this is probably what's going to happen. And you know what? After 20 years of reading Tarot cards and spiritually counseling people and advising people, and listening to their life stories, because I have just listened to an uncountable number of confessions and painful childhoods and recovery stories and qualifications about how they got to become sober and got to rehab. You know, you start to find the finer points, and basically everybody's story is kind of pretty much the same. And, uh, so, we all kind of like have the same arc, and we meet the same people along the way. The king, the queen, the prince, the princess. The goal is to get into the kingdom, talk to the king, get the king's favor, and then get the king to, share the gold in, an Arthurian sort of way, pull the sword out of the stone. So, find out what your sword is, and then I'm going to help you pull it out, because that's what I do in a shamanic sense. Anyways, okay, enough out of me. We gone over an hour. My name's Kirk. It's been my honor to try and find the streamline together. And if nothing else, watch these videos. They'll put you right to sleep. That's what a lot of people tell me. My voice is very soothing. And, you just put on a playlist, and Uncle Kirk will talk you right to sleep. So if it's not good for anything else, and no, don't discount yourself, Kirk. You're an awesome shaman. All right, so wake up, pray, meditate, spiritual discipline, ask for grace, get into the alpha state, and then start your affirmations. I'll see you guys tomorrow. This has been Kirk's Daily Learning Points. And you can check out my website, last thing, kirkspiritual.com, Shakti and Namaste. I'll see you in the Cyber Temple of Love. God bless America. Shakti.